Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the North East Non-League Show for our next looking back. And tonight's joining us is Nathan Buddle. Nathan, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Not a problem. Pleasure.
Excellent. And a huge thank out to our sponsors again, obviously Sun and West End, Baywatch TV, and Jade Bell as well, and also supporting If You Care Share Foundation. Matthew, massive thanks to all yous as well. And just getting on the show tonight, a lot of late questions coming in as well. I think there's a bit of a banter, some of the questions that's come in, so we'll go for them very shortly as well. But before we get the football side, I think, Nathan, a huge congratulations to yourself. It's been a busy year for yourself, marriage, child on the way as well. Must be a busy time.
Yeah. Been carnage, one thing after the next type of thing. I think someone was on about the most stressful things in life, about everything all at once. So I've been all systems go.
A nice cup run as well to go with it. Comes in freeze, doesn't it?
Definitely. Obviously, I was kind of gutted with the way like kind of planned out for me with getting that concussion. Obviously, it was meant to be on the show
Yeah.
earlier, but obviously that obviously ended up missing the Wrexham game and stuff. But yeah, I mean the cup run's always good, isn't it?
Oh, it's amazing. Like you say, especially over the last few weeks now, it shows that we've kind of been going over the FA Cup, and it's huge. It's not all about the third round draw. It's about playing 12 games just to get to that point, isn't it? It's massive for the non-league clubs, isn't it?
Oh, but that was out. Like obviously the funding's a massive thing, but I mean as players, it's like you said, people who maybe don't know as much about the FA Cup don't realise the amount of qualifying you have to do. Especially if you end up drawing a game, you've got to have that replay added in, bit of
Yeah,
qualifying. Takes a long time even just to get that first round proper. So yeah, definitely.
excellent. But just getting back to your early days as well, obviously you started at Newcastle Academy before going to Hartlepool. Did you kind of think football was always the main kind of aim in your life, kind of as a young child as well?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, my dad actually still has videos. I mean, when I
Right.
was like 7, 8 year old, my first couple of games, you're allowed to obviously record the games and stuff, and I had absolutely no idea, any idea how to play football. Like I was just kind of clueless. But when I kind of got to grips with it and stuff, that's exactly it. It was just that was my main focus. And then from the second I started playing, it was like this is exactly what I want to do. And there was nothing else kind of sprung to mind at all.
Oh, but like you say, you're doing really well in the Hartlepool youth team, and obviously then released in 2013. At that point, do you think it was kind of a bit of a shock to yourself because you were playing so well? Do you think you could have been given that extra chance there?
I mean, I felt obviously when I was at Hartlepool, we did quite well actually in the
Hmm.
reserve league and stuff. I think we ended up, right up there. We had some decent sides in that league with Middlesbrough and Hull City and other teams like that. But at the time, it was a difficult period for the club. And obviously, it was the year that Hartlepool ended up going down to League Two.
Hmm.
So I think in terms of like the management side of things, they were kind of hesitant to put in any young lads. Like with the element of that you're chucking young lads in, it's too big of a risk, especially in the scenario they wanted in. And they wanted to rely on the experienced players, which happens quite a lot. But looking back, I do feel like I would have loved to have more of an opportunity there, but also from like a management point of view and stuff, you can see why, I didn't really get the opportunity or that never kind of materialized. And obviously at the end of that 1 year pro contract that I got there, the manager ended up leaving and everything. So I kind of knew before the season was up that my time was kind of up at Hartlepool. Yeah, but no, I thoroughly enjoyed my 3 years there. 2 years in the youth team and that 1 year pro. I learned a lot. Yeah, especially coming straight out of school.
Yeah.
Kind of developed from a boy to a man, as you like. I remember, I used to travel in with one of my best mates, Luke James, from Amble, and
Oh yes, yeah.
yeah, we'd be leaving the house at 6:30, 7 in the morning, going to the train station at Allenmouth, and then we go through to Durham on the train, get a bus
Hmm.
to the training ground, and then same on the way back. And you know it was never ever a chore at that point. Absolutely loved it, and like I say, it was the experience there. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I look back on with good memories. Yeah.
Especially like you say there when Hartlepool went down, it's always about that bit of luck and the timing because like you say, a different manager comes in, you're kind of sitting mid-table. If you're safe, then you players get a chance at the end of the season. It's just so unlucky and lucky sometimes how it falls. Really, isn't it, in the professional game?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, like I say, we had a fairly good run that year with the reserve lads, and it's one of them where, like you say, if you are mid-table and you're fairly comfortable, the manager might have turned around and went, yeah, we'll give a couple of
Yeah,
lads an opportunity, but you know, like I say, from the flip side, it's always a difficult one in a relegation battle, and you do kind of look at your senior heads, and you know, you think these are the lads that's going to get you out of it. So, as much as I was kind of disappointed not to get an opportunity, there was, you know, quite a lot of people in the same boat as me, in terms of that reserve side. But yeah, you know, it was just it wasn't a great year, that full year. Obviously, we were going down, but yeah, like I say, it was just one of them things.
yeah. Couple of comments coming already. I think I'll let you sing that one, Nathan. I think if you can see it there. From Simi Javel. And he's wanting to wave as well. And Brian just mentioned it as well. It's got the videos, yeah. So it's amazing that, like you say, looking back, I know my son, he's just started playing kind of under seven football. And I mean, I've been dragged into manager now, which I didn't really want, but it's just great seeing the lads going out and enjoying a game of football, win, lose, or draw. It's just about going out there and have a smile and playing with some fun, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, without a doubt. You know, that's kind of why everyone starts playing football, for that exact reason. And as you obviously get older, obviously start to become more kind of professional, and you know, more like focused on you know, winning games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But as a kid, you know, that's exactly it. You just want to be playing every weekend and enjoying your football.
And you signed for Blythe in 2013, and obviously we'll get on to later stages, but did you kind of fall in love with the club straight away? Because I know you've got a special relationship with the club now.
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a funny one. At the time, I had an agent, and he was kind of, you know, I'll get you in here, I'll get you in here, you know, kind of thing for trials.
Yeah,
And I remember leaving Hartlepool and kind of just sitting in limbo, if you will. You know, just doing my own training, a bit of running, and in the gym and stuff, and kind of waiting for a phone call from him. And nothing ever kind of materialized. And then I just remember getting a phone call from Tom Wade at the time, and he said, "Look, we're trying to build something here. Obviously, I know at the time Blythe had been very much like kind of struggling in the Evo stick.
yeah,
And to be completely honest, I wasn't 100%, you know, like kind of aware of where the club was in terms of like where they were heading. And Tom just said, look, if you want to come in, even just train with her in pre-season, see what you think, and then we'll kind of go from there. And he even said, if there's a club comes in pre-season, you need to go on trial. He says, you know, we're kind of not standing in your way. So it was a win-win for me from that point. And I went in, and obviously Tom had Colin Myers as his number two.
hmm
And like you say, I think from kind of day one, I just kind of hit the ground running, and absolutely loved it from that point on.
yeah. I mean, we've had Tom on, and he's a top man. I mean, Colin was my coach at the New College Academy as well, so I know Colin very well. And like you say, two cracking lads. And around that time, obviously, when he signed, like, could you feel that the things were building? It seemed to be a special time to be at the club, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I remember going in, and it was very much like a brand new squad. You know, there's obviously Dan Maguire had just joined, Garrett Rivers, you know, people like Ryan Hutchinson and stuff was all coming at a very similar time. And then obviously you had Robbie, who you know was the forever figure type of thing at
Yeah,
Blythe. But yeah, it did feel like it was kind of a new beginning. And like you say, with Tom and Colin, they both kind of set their stall out early and said, look, we know this is kind of going to be a building blocks type of thing, and we'll move forward as we can. But I remember that first season, it wasn't like, you know, we weren't competing with the top sides. You know, if anything, it was a bit more of a battle. But I
yeah,
remember it was just kind of building the team, and we ended up, I think, like mid-table on that first season. You know, we learned a lot of lessons against the top sides, and but we also really gelled. And I think for the likes of myself and the likes of Jarrett and stuff, you know, we've always played at, you know, full-time professional outfits in the reserve leagues, you know, under 23s and stuff. So that first season, I think, was crucial in terms of going into the man's game. And you know, you know, some games you're playing against, you know, 35, 36 year
aye,
old blokes who, you know, it's not like, I wouldn't say like kind of a tippy tappy reserve league, you know, from the professional side of things, but it's a lot less physical in that aspect. And you know, then you go into the Evo stick, and you know, you've got, like I say, you've got a fully grown bloke who is not bothered about who you are, and he's more than happy to put an elbow in your face and say welcome to the Evo stick. So that first year was definitely crucial for us, and like I say, it laid the foundations for what we ended up going to achieve.
Oh, it's a huge learning curve, like you said, especially the elbows, the heads flying around. They definitely leave one in on you.
Oh yeah, definitely. No shame at all.
And one of the main standout of the spell has to be the FA Cup run. I know we'll come on to the Hartlepool game in a minute, but as we mentioned before, the FA Cup is so magic, just getting through so many rounds of play. And some of the teams that you beat, the like of Darlow, Skimmerdale, Mickover, League Town, at that point when the games were ticking away, do you think that you could get a bit further, and how far do you think you could get at that point?
I just remember kind of that season starting, and obviously Dan Maguire at the time was just he was on fire. Like it just seemed to be
Yeah,
every time he touched the ball, it was hitting the net. And then going into the first few qualifying rounds, we were quietly confident. And I remember I ended up getting a suspension with I was against Micklova, and I'll never forget it because it was going to be, I think it was from my fifth yellow card. I think that's what it
right.
was.
Yeah,
And I ended up getting this yellow card, and the kid had dived. And obviously, with the way our leagues work, the suspension kicks in 2 weeks later. So I knew I'm out of the next round for the FA Cup. So I remember playing the rest of that game, trying to keep my head, and also thinking we need to get through, and the lads will do the business next round. So I missed the League Town game. So obviously I went down to watch it, and as you have seen, we were getting hammered at half time, and I'm stood in the crowd. I was actually watching the game with Mark Carruthers, who was on our like media side of things at the
mhm.
time, and I went to see him at half time, and I couldn't believe it. Like we'd been so good up to that point, and I was devastated obviously that I missed out on the game, and I thought like that's it, we're dead and buried. Yeah, they're going to come out and just and kind of run riot, but
Yeah,
that was the longest 90 minutes of my life because obviously the second half we came out and obviously Tom's kind of given the hairdryer treatment with Colin, and to see the turnaround was just unbelievable. But like I say, that was very tough game to watch. But in terms of that run, I think that summed us up. We kind of just never gave up, and ended up finding a way in every game, obviously up until the Birmingham game.
no, it was amazing. Really good run. A couple of comments, Simi. Loving this, really, mate. Top man. Thank you so much. Like I say, really appreciate your support. If you haven't already, if you can hit that subscribe, it would really mean a lot as well. Lots coming up on the show over the next few weeks as well. And obviously getting on to the FA Cup, continuing. Obviously, you beat Altrincham 4-1, and then you draw Hartlepool away. What was it like, kind of, when you found out the result that you were going to be going down to Hartlepool? I know we said to Tom kind of what was his feelings as a manager, but as a player, obviously going back to Hartlepool as well. What was your feelings at that point?
It was actually funny again, and obviously just talked about Luke, but he'd actually signed for Peterborough at that time, and I'd went down that weekend just to kind of like as a catch-up type of thing, and the draw for the game was I think it was maybe on the Monday night or the Sunday night, and BBC Newcastle had actually said, "Would you come on the show, just kind of talk about the
Right.
run?" And I got asked off Simon Pride. He says, "Who do you want in the next round if you could kind of pick a team?" And I said, look, obviously, I felt like I didn't get my full chance at Hartlepool, so I said I would absolutely love to play against them. Um, kind of not necessarily like have a point to prove, but just want to go back there and show
Yeah.
this is what kind of could have been. So obviously we then sat and watched the draw, and I actually couldn't believe it. And obviously I was with Luke, who was used to play for Hartlepool, and I said I actually cannot believe this was the case. So I was over the moon, and ended up back on BBC Newcastle. And I remember Simon turned around to us. He said, "Do you know what the lottery numbers are for this weekend as well?" Um, but yeah, I mean, I was absolutely delighted. And then when you look at the game, it was the build up was brilliant. With the coverage from the BBC, and um, heading into the game, we know Hartlepool was struggling, and I think that every single person in our dressing room had just such a belief that we'd go there and get something at least. And obviously then before the game, you had the likes of Shearer and stuff coming in the dressing room
Yeah.
to talk to you and stuff. It just seemed surreal. In that first half, like I think every single person who was at the game and watched it on the telly seen Hartlepool just absolutely smothered where we got nowhere near them. And I think it was kind of maybe the occasion got the better of quite a lot of them. I mean, we're a very young side at the time, and then I think we managed to get in half time, and got caught with breath, and it was only 1-0. Um, Definitely could have been more. Peter Jeffries was unbelievable that whole
Yeah.
FA,
Cracking saves. Yeah.
and a couple of his saves, kept us in the game at that point. And then like I say, I think we kind of caught our breath half time and came out, and obviously the rest was history. But that game, that's long lives in the memory of every person who was involved, and what a night it was, and you seen the celebrations at the end and stuff. It was
Ah,
just
amazing.
oh, it was unbelievable. Remember the whole of the away end was obviously filled with Blythe fans, and after the game we were standing on the pitch celebrating with them, and it was a good half an hour afterwards, and nobody had left the ground.
Like I say, I used to always go and watch Hartlepool a lot around that time, and even coming out of work on that night, I always said I just fancy Blythe so much. I know that must be myself and another three lads at work. I think we had 25 quid each on Blythe, so it paid for a good night out that night. And when Jarrett Rivers put that ball in, it was quite late on, as you say. And I just remember
Yeah.
saw on our phones like, "Get in, we're going out." But watching it from the side, it was just looked amazing to be a part of, especially at the end, like you say, the Blythe fans getting across and just cuddling each other and chucking scarves and flags. It was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I know Steve was on the other day, and at any opportunity he'll tell you about that free kick. But I mean, honestly, I've seen Steve. My time with Blythe, he took well over 100 free kicks, and that's the only one he's even hit on target. So um, for that to fly in, and then obviously for us to win in the manner that we did, I just thought it was written in the stars that night. And the way that the whole of the second half panned out, and to win it so late on like we did, it was yeah, it was just absolutely magic, like saying, and the scenes at the end and stuff. Yeah, it's some of you'll never forget, and that's the reason you get into football as a kid, for
Yeah,
nights like
definitely. He's back running a couple of weeks. Part two, I'll tell him about the free kicks. If his battery lasts that long, like.
that. Yeah, definitely, definitely. The worst thing was about that. Once he scored that free kick, every single game now, if we got a free kick anywhere near the edge of the box, you could hear the Blythe fans start singing, "Oh, this is Turnbull territory." I'd say I think he cleared the ground every other time since then. So yeah, make sure when he comes on, just ask him about that, because he doesn't like talking about any other free kick apart from that one.
But progressing on as well, Birmingham in the third round, and again, it was just amazing watching that 2-0 up, and we just thought, all right, here we go, next round again, but 3 goals in 6 minutes for Birmingham. I mean, what was it like playing that game and the feeling afterwards as a player?
Uh, to be honest, that whole of the first half, I think, the Croft Park, that was as full as it can possibly be.
Yeah,
The atmosphere was just unbelievable, and obviously Robbie was just absolutely frightening that whole FA
amazing.
Cup run. I think, obviously he didn't score against Hartlepool, but I think that was the only round he hadn't scored in that whole competition. And I'm sure at the time he ended up joint top scorer in that FA Cup run. But what he did to Birmingham that first half, just that was a bit of a thing beforehand. Where obviously I know Tom and Steve was on the telly, and they kind of got asked what did you think of the draw getting Birmingham, and it was never a thing that we were being disrespectful to Birmingham. But when we progressed to the third round, our dreams are
Yeah,
Liverpool at Anfield or Man United at Old Trafford. That's the kind of things that's going on in your head. And I remember Steve had actually said to them, look, were a bit like underwhelmed, and they took bad to that. And I remember, there was a bit of back and forth on Twitter from a few of their players, and um, after the first half, I think they were kind of thinking, "Oh, hold on a second,
yeah,
these lads are actually the real deal." And like you obviously seen the goals from Robbie, and I think if anything, we maybe just got the goals too soon, which it sounds crazy, but obviously 2-0 up at half time. I think there was maybe just the nerves kind of set in a little bit in the second half, and then obviously the Birmingham fans were behind our goal in the second half, which they were virtually sucking the ball into the net, and I still can't
yeah.
I still can't believe it to this day that they scored 3 goals in 6 minutes, because it just must have happened in a flash. Like I still have nightmares
Crazy it
about it
was.
now. That's it. I still can't believe we didn't end up going into the fourth round. We matched them all over the park, apart from them 6 minutes. We were more than at the races with them. And then, like I say, I still have a couple of sleepless nights, and not that I ever have a sour taste about that
Yeah,
whole FA Cup, but I just keep on thinking, what if for that game? And yeah, it was a shame in the manner that kind of happened, but we were very proud of that cup run, without a doubt.
definitely. I mean, before we get on to speaking about Carlisle, and I know we had a few players and I kind of talked about the FA Cup run, the scouts watching. Could you feel as you were going on the rounds that there was more scouts coming to watch the Spartans at the time?
Yeah, well, I'd actually before the Christmas, I'd had a phone call from Carlisle, and I'd been in training with them, and
Hmm.
I played a couple of games for them, and Carlisle were actually very good. They basically said, "Look, we like you, but we don't want to bring you in because they were just being honest. They said you'll not be playing straight away. We want you to stay with Blythe, keep this FA Cup run type of thing going, and we'll kind of keep track on you." So I remember we ended up playing the Birmingham game and got knocked out. And it was the following Tuesday we had a game, and I'm pretty sure it was at Ilkeston away on the Tuesday. Um, and I on the way down on the bus, I got a text off my agent at the time saying, "Look, Carlisle want you to play a game tomorrow,
Hmm.
at Newcastle against their reserves." And I texted him back. I said, "Well, I'm playing Ilkeston tonight, and I'm probably going to play the full 90." And he said, "Oh no," he says, "I've told them, but he says they still want you to go." So we played Ilkeston on the Tuesday night. I played 90 that night and ended up at Newcastle's training ground
Oh
on the
wow.
Tuesday, and we ended up on the Wednesday, sorry, and we ended up playing. And I remember Gutierrez, Santon, Adam Armstrong, De Jong, all of these players were in the lineup, and I'm thinking, I kind of move, I played against Birmingham on the Saturday, played the Tuesday night, and then I'm at the training ground on the Wednesday.
Yeah,
But I think just pure adrenaline type of thing got us through the game, and
yeah,
I did all right. And then obviously after the game, they offered us a deal. But yeah, that whole run, there was so many eyes on it, and I think there's plenty of interest in a lot of the squad because we had such a good bunch. And I think on another day, I think a lot of people would have ended up getting picked up and doing very well.
yeah, definitely. Got more comments coming as well. Tony just mentioning. Tony, thank you very much for watching. I remember Lee Novak, the ex Gateshead playing that game. Good striker, wasn't he? As well at that level. And Stephen, even lads, even Stephen, hope the family's well. Hope we get you back on next week as well. He always comes on and joins on the shows, Stephen. So good to get him back hopefully in the next couple of weeks as well. And obviously, just getting on to a couple of questions that we've had in before getting on to Carlisle. We had one, I'm sure it was Ian Watson, what from he was on a few weeks ago. And
Very
his
good
question is, yeah, make sure you ask him straight off your love affair with Keith Curl.
one. Yeah, that there was like him, Jamie Chandler and stuff. They absolutely love it for some reason. They just decided that I had this love affair with Keith Curl, and they both enjoy calling us Curly or Busted for some reason as well. One of the nicknames he used to like to call us Tyson for Tyson Fury. So yeah, he's just he's one of the very best in the game. Like Ian is a
Yeah,
lad. Yeah, Daft is out of the two of them. Yeah.
oh, it's a funny one. And Dan Rolls asking as well, Blythe Spartans, are you jealous of the Rise Evans flag?
I'm not being funny. It's an absolute joke that like taking lives of Blythe fans. He played one game at centre half and got a flag. I'm close to 300 and I can't get near a flag, but nah, no, it's class what the fans are doing there with that flag. And obviously you'll have seen the one with the Ryan Reynolds the crack on
Ah, it was
Twitter.
amazing, wasn't
Yeah, I mean the fans are being class with Blythe, and obviously that's the latest thing with the flags.
it? And getting back to Carlisle as well, I mean, playing football league, training weekend, well, D&D, how pretty much. How did you enjoy your time there at Carlisle?
I loved it, the kind of just going back into the full time outfit, and in a way I felt like that was kind of what I'd been working for from the time I left
Yeah.
Hartlepool. I never kind of committed to any full time jobs. I was always just working alongside like my stepdad, doing like labouring on the building sites and stuff because I never thought I'm going to do anything else but go back
Hmm.
into full time. That was kind of what I had my mind set on. So to finally achieve that, I was absolutely delighted. And yeah, obviously going back into to the full time aspect, it took a little while to kind of pick up back to that pace and training every single day and getting to that level. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. Obviously, my appearance time was minimal. I only think I made like 3 appearances, but I thoroughly enjoyed the time there and played quite a few times with the reserves and stuff. And
Hmm.
no, it was really good. Met some great lads over there, and yeah, again, it was quite a difficult scenario that even then with Carlisle was kind of in a relegation battle at that point as well. You remember Hartlepool were also, and they obviously had the great escape that season.
Yeah.
Which, again, I think it was me coming from the Evo stick at that point, and maybe he's not wanting to be chucked straight in. But let's say I look back on it with fond memories, and you know, to be able to say that I managed to play in the Football League via that move, I was delighted, even if it was only for the 3 times.
Yeah. And to be honest as well, did you kind of get offered a new deal at Carlisle at the time, but you opted to go to Gateshead? Was that because of the game time at the point?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a funny one. You know, to not go into too much, at the time I got offered a deal from Carlisle, and I kind of agreed it in principle.
Hmm.
And in the meantime, Malcolm Crosby at Gateshead had been in touch with my agent and said, look, we want to take him on a full time deal. So I spoke with Carlisle myself, and I said, kind of what's the plan moving forward? And the deal I'd agreed to was only 6 months again, and they said we were planning on loaning you out from the start of the season, and then kind of bringing you back in at Christmas and seeing where you're at.
Yeah.
Um, and Gateshead basically said, that it was basically going to Gateshead on loan. So I had two options. It was either be loaned out or go and play for
Hmm.
Gateshead full time anyway.
Yeah.
And I looked at the time, and obviously Ben Clark and James Curtis was there, and obviously everybody knew how good they were in terms of a reputation. And I thought
Quality.
this is a great opportunity for me to learn from them, and then also say I think I'm more than ready to be taking one of their places. And
Definitely.
um, I went with that exact in mind, and I spoke with my agent, and he basically said, look, I think it's going to probably work out better because you could go away from Carlisle, and there's the aspect of out of sight, out of mind. And he said, if you go to Gateshead, then you can prove your worth and go from there, which I certainly felt like I did when I ended up going. I thoroughly enjoyed it at Gateshead. I mean, I don't regret that decision. I think in terms of people looking from the outside in, it did seem like a strange one. But when I spoke to Carlisle, it was kind of there's a 6 month deal, and the first 3 months you're going to be out on loan, so it didn't
Yeah, it's
really
a bit
make
funny, isn't it?
too much sense. Yeah, so I just thought, well, they're not really committing to me in the way which I was hoping they would have at that point.
No, definitely. Like you say, you had the short spell at Gateshead and back to Blythe. It's kind of like you're being connected back to Blythe again, as we'll talk again later. Was it just kind of the right deal at the time to go back there?
Well, a funny one. I was saying I missed the original booking for the show with concussion, but it actually all stemmed from a concussion at Gateshead. I was
Right.
I was I was flying
Right.
at Gateshead.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoying it, and then we played Southport away, and I basically went for a diving header from a free kick and got kicked in the head. Um, and I ended up being out for 5 or 6 weeks, and in those 6 weeks, Malcolm Crosby ended up getting sacked from the
Mm,
football club, which I was devastated about, to be honest, because time at Gateshead with him there, he was just absolutely brilliant for me. He's very encouraging, and obviously I was gutted to miss the time the last 5 6 weeks because of this head injury. But by the time I came back, obviously Neil Aspin had came in, and it was just one of them where he's came to the football club and basically said, you're not for
it
me.
is. Yeah.
Obviously, I was very disappointed with at the time. And he basically said, "Well, you're not going to be playing, so you're going to have to go and get some game time." And in terms of obviously where we are at, Blythe were pushing for promotion that year, and I think they'd already been in touch, and it was kind of a no-brainer at that point. I thought, well, I'll go out on loan, and even if it's for a month or so, and we'll see how I get on and come back. But I remember going back to Blythe, and within that first month, my agent had rang us, and he said, "Look, I'll be honest with you." He says, "Your manager's been on the phone asking about another one of his players who also played centre half."
Right.
So I think as soon as I went back to Blythe, I thought, "Oh well, that's my time done at Gateshead anyway." So, but yeah, like I say, it was as soon as Blythe kind of showed their interest, and I knew they were kind of pushing to get promoted again that season. It's a no-brainer for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, that you mentioned that spell between 2016 2019 under Armstrong. It was massive for the club. I mean, we mentioned the Wade spell, but the Armstrong unbeaten runs, league titles, playoffs, and leading the club back to the National League North. It must have been a proud moment playing at the club at that point.
Oh, without a doubt. You know, I always give props to Tom and Colin for the squad that they built.
Mm-hmm.
And then Alan, obviously Tom left the football club and he kind of he said it that he felt he couldn't take the club any further. And Alan came in and he just kind of give her that little bit extra, which we were kind of maybe needing in
Yeah.
terms of obviously he's played in the the highest level along with Darren Holloway. They both knew what we needed and what direction we need to be going in to like you say, inevitably get that promotion and then end up doing what we did do. Obviously Alan at the time brought in Luke. Well, sorry, Tom had Luke at the football club, but obviously Alan coming in, he filled him with confidence, and we've obviously all seen what Luke's went on to achieve
Oh, it's
now.
great, wasn't it? Yeah.
And then he brought in one or two, and I think that was all we needed was the one or two additional players. And then obviously we went and won that league with I think it was a very close to the record number of points and most goals scored, least conceded and stuff. And that at that time it was you were absolutely raring to go on a Saturday. The place was just buzzing. We went into every single game and it didn't matter who we were playing. It was that we're going to win this. And some days you'd be disappointed if you're winning 1 or 2-0 because you felt like it should have been 4 or 5. But yeah, that promotion season was absolutely brilliant, especially for the football club to get back into the National League North because
Yeah, huge.
I remember when I joined it was it had been a couple of years where they'd been sat in limbo in the Evo stick, so to be part of the side which inevitably got back to the National League North, which I think Blythe should never be kind of lower than. It was
100%.
a great achievement. So yeah, definitely.
Massive. And like you've also played, obviously, captain and scored for Blythe at St James Park. I mean, what's it like playing there and lifting the trophy? I know I've played a couple of games myself, but playing as a final, but also lifting the trophy at St James Park, which I'm hopefully we'll see over the next few years in Newcastle. But what was it like as a player playing there yourself?
Yeah, I mean, obviously as a kid, I'm a lifelong Newcastle fan. Had a
Yeah,
season ticket, for like 6 seasons. So, and I know there's not too much made of the Senior Cup. Some people kind of just disregard it, I would say. But to play in the final, and it's in James's Park at the end of the day. You walk out, and I always just think to myself, it must be some feeling for the lads
oh,
walking out on
yeah,
that pitch. With 52,000 there. I think we play in front of a couple of thousand there, and it's just unbelievable. I think that people like Dan Burn and stuff, you walking out on that pitch, like local lads, and
yeah,
your club, which you've born up, you've grew up supporting your whole life. It is special, but like I say, even at that lesser level with the Senior Cup, it's absolutely magic. And yeah, to score in that Senior Cup final last year, I was absolutely over the moon. I was even more delighted because I haven't scored all season, so it was kind of playing on my mind as well. So I saved it to the right time when you're here.
No, I've got a story. So you've gone one better than me because I remember I hit the post at the Gallagher end, and like that's
Uh,
my story. We have a few drinks. I hit the post at Gallagher end. It's like, so yeah, so what? Like to score St James' apartment. What a feeling that must be, man.
it was brilliant. To be fair, the under 23s were zonal marking on corners, so I was kind of licking my lips. I thought, well, I'm as long as they put this ball up in the air, I'm gonna end up heading it. So yeah, I was absolutely delighted to bag on there.
No, class. I'm going to get a couple of quick fire questions very shortly as well. So any questions that anyone that's watching want to fire them in as well, we'll get them read out as we go on. Same again, almost hitting double figures again all night, which is amazing. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe as well. And after the time at Blythe, you leave and go to Spenny in 2019. Was that a kind of a tough move at the time, or was it kind of a new, fresh start? And I mean, Spenny, like you say, always a great club. One I watch with very closely. It's a great little club down there. I mean, was it hard to leave Blythe at that point?
Yeah, I mean over a few seasons, I had Jay was on the phone to us, in the off season virtually for 2 or 3 years,
Right.
saying, look, do you fancy coming down? And I'd always kind of knocked them back, but we kind of maintained that kind of nice relationship where it was, there was a bit of mutual respect, and I
Yeah.
always like kind of the direction Spenning were moving in. Obviously, the year that we came up, they came up through the playoffs. And every time we played them, it was such a big game, and
Cracking games. Yeah.
yeah, we always in for a game playing against them. And obviously at the time, I was very disappointed with the way that things had panned out at Blythe. Obviously, everyone who's kind of associated with the club around then knows the way things went. And there wasn't anything there for us at Blythe at the time. It kind of forced my hand. And Jay basically been on the phone and said, "Look, come down, have a meeting and stuff, and we'll work it out from there." And the second I went to meet him, I was still kind of in my head hoping that there would be some kind of a resolve at Blythe. They were managerless. I think we had 4 or 5 players who were still on for the next season. And I remember, trying to get in touch with the club, and they were just kind of in no man's land. And Jason had basically said, "Look, we want you. This is what we're looking to achieve." And I think I left that meeting and I was kind of set that this is where I want to be, and this football club is moving in the right direction. And disappointing definitely to leave Blythe at the time, but the 2 years I had at Spenny, it was two disappointing seasons because of COVID. We didn't finish in a full season, but I absolutely loved it down there. I mean, even we used to train at Billingham on a Tuesday and Thursday night, and we didn't start training until 8:30 because it was just the balance for lads travelling and stuff. So I wouldn't be getting home till 11 o'clock on a Tuesday and Thursday night. As in a car through with Glenn Taylor, AJ, James Curtis, Gav Cogden and stuff, but you just thoroughly enjoyed it that much. It was seamless. But yeah, met some great lads down there. Like obviously Jason and Orty, the physio down there. Great football club, ran very well. Great lads. Obviously part of the reason I went down there as well was the likes of Jamie Chan and Rob Ramshaw and Curtis, who I'd been at Gateshead with. And I knew they were going to be heading in the right direction. So it was two enjoyable years, but like I say, just disappointing with the way that COVID had affected both seasons.
No, definitely. Like you say, a really great character. Someone I really looked up to, Jason. I know he's on the show in a few weeks' time as well, so can't wait to speak to him. A lot of respect from, like you say, OT as well. I know he's liking a lot of the content that we're putting out there as well. But I've got to ask you, I know you had a great partnership at centre back with him. What's he like, Curtis, as a player and a person off the pitch as well?
Yeah, obviously I'd been at Gateshead with him, and to be honest, it was Ben Clark had as soon as I got to Gateshead, he seemed to have the season of his life. And me and James Curtis were very much kind of taking in turns of playing in that position, and then we ended up playing in the 3 together and stuff. And props to Ben for that season at Gateshead. He was unbelievable, and I think he ended up getting player of the season. So obviously, and I knew how good Jamesy was. Just going off every season prior to that. And then obviously he went to Spenny and he just kept that level. And I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. I think is he 38 now and he's still playing at this level. It's just, fair play to him. But as a partnership, he was brilliant. His communication and stuff, the way he reads the game, he's so good on the ball. Just, kind of for me, it's someone that obviously I looked up to at Gateshead who I could learn from. And it's just, like I say, the record speaks for himself in terms of how many games he's played, and to still be playing at this age, it's an incredible achievement. And then off the pitch, he's just completely the opposite, to be honest. He's so zoned in on the pitch and just does everything to get the 3 points on the pitch, and off the pitch he's something very special. I was put it that way. I remember a team like out with Gateshead. He ended up getting told to get off the bins in the middle of get off the bins in the middle of the big market because he was chanting that he hated Newcastle, being a Sunderland fan, obviously. But James is a great lad. Obviously on and off the pitch. So yeah.
Class. And obviously back to Blythe now. Obviously, Captain Fenton comes in. The club's starting to pick up a few points and hopefully moving in that direction as well. I mean, what's your kind of short-term plans with Blythe? And I know there's a question coming later with Tony, which I'll hit on there now, which is your hope for the future in football. But like you say, in your prime now, kind of around 28, kind of pushing on now. Do you think you could get back in the football league? Is that an aim at yourself at the moment?
Not in particular, to be honest. I mean, obviously, I'm loving my time back at Blythe. I know it's been a
Yeah,
difficult couple of seasons, and we've been nowhere near the levels which I was like used to when I was at Blythe previous, and that was one of my main aims coming back. I thought, it was difficult for the 2 seasons when I wasn't there and I was at Spenny, and
yeah,
looking at the results and stuff. It's something which I never really enjoyed seeing. So come back and we struggled, and it hasn't been, the as we kind of all expected, being a bit further up the table. But obviously Graham's come in now, and props to him. He's trying to change the philosophy, and we definitely playing a better brand of football,
yeah,
and we
definitely.
may be missing a few more pieces to the puzzle, and I think we will definitely get there. Especially with him, he's played at the highest level, and he knows what's required to get to the next step. And um, obviously we made the playoffs with Blythe before, so I don't
Mhm.
think that it's an unrealistic thing. But this season we need to make sure we cement our place, and obviously be much improved on where we finished last year.
Definitely. And Tony as well is asking there, best team that you've played in Spennymoor or Blythe, and the best forward that you've played against.
For that's a tough question, to be honest. I'd have to say for the best teams, obviously that the season when we made the playoffs with Blythe.
Yeah.
You know, I can talk about the FA Cup run and stuff. That side was superb, but to do what we did in the National League North, it was kind of no secret that Blythe's budget is never, the biggest, I would say.
Hmm.
That's no disrespect to our owners and stuff. It's just not some owners can plummet the money in, and on that season we achieved sixth place with the budget we had, based on how well we performed on the pitch. Alex Nicholson, and we had Connor Oliver that year, and obviously Nipper, Sean Reed, Lids. Everyone was firing, and like I say, that's obviously Blythe's highest ever finish at that
Hmm.
point. I would say that probably have to go for that Blythe side. Um, and the best forward, I mean, I've been very fortunate to play with both Glenn Taylor and obviously
Yeah.
Nipper. Um, I mean, obviously I've never played against Nipper, but like I say, I'd probably have to say the toughest definitely Glenn Taylor. And there's plenty crack in the car screws when we were down with spending more training and stuff with Glenn. But yeah, Glenn was very special. Same as Nipper, they just had the ability where didn't matter where you were in a game, you just always had the
Yeah.
feeling that they'd be able to pull something out of the bag and get you a goal. And obviously Glenn's consistently still doing that, like year in, year out, and he's now breaking the records of Spennymoor, which doesn't surprise us. But yeah, I'd probably have to say Glenn, yeah.
Yeah. And getting on our quick fire questions. So at the end of every interview, we always go through some quick fire questions as well. So best manager that you've worked under.
Um, Tough one. Probably again for achievement reasons, I would have to probably just say Alan Armstrong.
Yeah.
The atmosphere which he created, during that time, um, the place was just absolutely buzzing, and we just seemed to get everything right. So yeah, I'd probably have to say Alan Armstrong.
And the best teammate that you've played with.
For
Too many.
yeah, I'm like I say, I've been very fortunate to play with a lot of players, very talented players as well. But I can't ignore obviously what Robbie Dale has
Mm.
achieved. I remember my earlier days at Blythe, and some games watching him. It was just ridiculous some of the things he would do. Pulled me out of the mud quite a few times. Like if we were struggling, Robbie would seem to get the ball and just walk past people. It made it look so easy, and you maybe you're getting beat 2-0, and then 5 minutes later Robbie's got you 3-2 up. Um, but yeah, I'd probably have to say, in terms of everything he's achieved, and again, I know a lot of people will say Robbie definitely should have been a lot higher, but yeah, I'd probably have to go with Robbie.
Right. And best opposition player that you've played against. There's that one player that you just couldn't get the best of when you played against them.
Yeah, like I say, obviously definitely Glenn's up there. Trying to think off the top of my head because obviously don't really struggle too often, but no. Trying to think, obviously AJ as well. Played against him a few times at Spain. Where he was always a problem. Mark Beck, he's always a handful.
Yeah.
And there's a Jordan Hume as well, who's down Altrincham. Me and him always seem to have a good battle. But yeah, there's quite a few. I've played against quite a lot of very good forwards, and it's always been like different challenge week in week out at this level. And like I said, it's always a good challenge.
And what would you say is your best footballer moment to date?
Definitely that Hartlepool game. And just obviously that whole night, and the build up, and seeing which on the radio, we want to be playing Hartlepool, and there's a funny story actually with it. If you actually watch the highlights, they hit the bar very late on and it goes out. I actually flicked the ball off the volley onto the bar, and it should have been a corner, and the referee gives a goal kick, and you see their players surrounding them.
Yeah.
Obviously Steele go on about his free kick and stuff, but I always take credit to him. I managed to get through to that next round. But no, as a career high, I would say that whole FA Cup run, like in terms of a football moment, that whole run was just absolutely brilliant.
Excellent. And I know you've mentioned a few already, but looking back over your time so far, kind of in the teams that you played for, the change rooms, what's the best, funniest football moment that you can tell live on air?
Well, obviously, you've probably all just seen that clip of Keith Gill from the weekend interview he's just done. I would say that it was definitely the weirdest thing which I've come across type of thing in football. But we played Stevenage away at Carlisle, and we'd had a bad performance, and we'd all kind of sat down. The Stevenage change room was quite small, and I remember coming in, and Keith's like standing in the middle of the change rooms, and he starts like going through the game and how disappointed he was, and he kind of edges towards where his clothes were to get changed into. And I remember this went on for 15, 20 minutes, and as he's still having a go at all the lads and going through things with the game, he's getting undressed from his tracksuit, which he's had on, and he just got completely stripped off, and he was standing in the middle of the change room, still having a bollocking, like bollocking the lads. And as he was doing it, he's turned, and honestly, he was just eye line with one of the lads as he turned to get his clothes off the peg. I remember, obviously, we're getting hammered and everyone's disappointed and stuff, but at that time, I think everyone's thoughts was the same. You're trying to hold the laughing because it was like I say, it was very, very awkward, and it was like a very strange moment, to say the least.
Class, Nathan. Class. Well, no, Nathan, honestly, thank you so much for coming on. Some cracking answers there and some really good stories. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show tonight.
No worries, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Excellent. And Tony, great show again. Thank you, Tony, very much, and everyone that's watched as well. Like I say, we do this to put out there for you to come in and watch this and help us grow as much as you can. I know we literally hit 500 subscribers. I think it was last week. Within kind of 3 days, we're up to 525, pushing on now for 1,000, which would be amazing as well. Tuesday night, back again we've got the Bishop Auckland chairman coming on, Steve Coulthard, coming to talk about obviously Bishop, great start in the Northern League this season. And the aims for the future of the club going forward. So really can't look forward to that one coming on Tuesday night as well. But again, thank you very much to our sponsors, Sun and West End, Baywatch TV and Jade Bell. Again, thank you so much for your support. But Nathan, everyone watching, thank you so much and hope you enjoy the rest of your night as well.
Spot on, mate. Cheers.